So it appears that John is still MIA, which is probably a good sign. I think that's a sign that he's following through on his sobriety and stuff. I don't know how, but I've stumbled on another person on YouTube, and this woman, and John have some tremendous parallels. Um, both of them are incredibly toxic, self-destructive, uh, just a whirlwind of kind of suck for anyone that stumbles upon them. This woman, in general, just like John, doesn't have access to her kid, is incredibly abusive towards her family and to her ex-husband and his wife. Very, very manipulative and so on. This woman's kind of interesting because there is a small set of people that I run into at the homeless shelter that I volunteer at, and these are typically, I call them trusties, and these are kids that are they come from well-to-do background, and they're basically taking the summer off, and for whatever reason they decide that they're gonna slum it. They're gonna ride the rails. I don't get it. I don't get why they do it, and they're typically the kids that'll show up at the homeless shelter. It's only in the summertime because the wintertime the weather's too awful for these kids. And they're the ones that'll show up to the homeless shelter, and they'll complain about our food and stuff. I remember one time there was a kid. I basically I was like, "Do you have any form of ID on you?" kind of thing. Because we do try to align people up with services and stuff, and part of that requires that we need to have a name or whatever, a legal name. I remember this kid gave me a university ID for an Ivy League school. Just like I'm just thinking, like, dude, you are literally taking a cot and food from homeless people because you want to like piss off mommy and daddy for like the summer or whatever. I'm like, I guarantee you this kid probably had trust funds that were worth more than my net worth as somebody with a master's degree in electrical engineering. Um, and so you'll run into these really really entitled attitudes from time to time. Now, not everybody, of course. Most of the people that I try to assist are incredibly thankful, and they're typically very very respectful. Now, I do have to run into people from time to time with severe mental and emotional issues, but even those folks primarily are very very nice and friendly to you. That is not this woman here. Not this woman at all.
So it's 5:30 in the evening on March 10th, 2022. And as I was recording that prior video, I'd received a phone call from the shelter that I had been um, just today able to sign paperwork for to be accepted into their shelter, and it was for an undisclosed amount of time. So I was supposed to be able to have rest and refuge here as well, and yet there is none. So, because as I was creating the video to share with you from prior about the rape scenario and the demonic military men that just take advantage of women, I was kicked out of this domestic violence shelter.
So a little bit of backstory. This woman ended up going on, I think, a couple of dates on Tinder with a couple of guys. And one of the individuals, well, I think both of the individuals at one point she accused of rape. Now it's just one individual. She says that that individual got her pregnant. She was sending so many threatening text messages to him about how like she's going to accuse him of rape unless he gives her money and so on and so on and so on, that he was actually able to get charges placed against her. I think she's charged with like making a false rape accusation and also with harassment charges. I think she's originally from Wisconsin, but then she was married with a kid in Arkansas. The husband has the kids, the ex-husband, I should say. And I think her deal now is that she travels from woman shelter to woman shelter to woman shelter, and she gets kicked out of these things. And the same thing with gyms. She gets kicked out of gyms. A woman's shelter will not provide you housing indefinitely. Like there's no such thing as like an indefinite stay at a battered women's shelter or a homeless shelter. These are emergency overnight stay kind of situations. This is for people that are like they have no place else to turn. And then what ends up happening, especially for women and children, like we at my facility, we try not to keep women and children at the facility for longer than like an hour, and we try to set them up with either an overnight stay at a hotel and whatnot, and then we try to get them immediately into some sort of housing away from a shelter situation. You don't want to be in a shelter situation because a lot of the times it's just a big room with cots and stuff. So like the idea that she expected to be able to stay at this shelter indefinitely like just doesn't quite make much sense. And they would have given her paperwork and stuff to start to immediately get her transitioned into some sort of much more stable housing. I don't think she ever gets to that part ever because she seems to start fights with people.
which makes no sense because they should see it from everyone's perspective and see it from the fact that I'm 15 weeks pregnant as of tomorrow and homeless and literally was informed that I would be able to stay here regardless of the circumstance and regardless that I have no actual felonies or actually any other criminal mischief aside from these random warrants that everybody wants to stick me in jail for. Um, what am I supposed to go to jail for a few days to have some shelter so they can starve me because they don't want to feed me a vegan diet because I told everyone that I'm much better off eating a vegan diet or I end up having mood swings?
Like this is one of those things that always irritates the hell out of me with the trustees. The trust fund kids that are slumming it over the summer to try to discover themselves while riding the rail cars. Um, Typically for us at the shelter, we get whatever we can that's donated. And so, like, I will get people from time to time that are like, I can only have like range. I can't do lunch meat. Okay, then eat the bread. Oh, well, there's a lot of, I really only do like whole grain, artisanal. And it's like, dude, you're at a homeless shelter, man. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. It is what it is. It is what it is.
And bowel disruptions, digestive issues, and nobody wants to hear me out. And instead, everybody wants to shove me on psych meds and yada yada and take this from me, take that from me. Um, they dumped all my things in a bucket. They just rudely dumped all of my things in a bucket. And I'm starting to get to the point where this is so common now. The moment that anybody, I know what's going on. People act like I'm crazy. This is the system speaking out against me because I'm speaking out against it. So everywhere I go, somebody talks down to me so that they can hurt my feelings and so that they can traumatize me even more. Why?
This is a common thing with a lot of folks like this. With this, they they go through a process and they expect a certain result, and if they don't get the result that they want, it's a conspiracy against them, or that person is doing this intentionally to hurt them, and so on and so on. And that could be really, really frustrating on the other end, where it's like, ma'am, sir, this is how the process is. This is kind of how this works. I am not telling you no just to be a jerk to you. If you talk to anybody that's like a psychiatrist or a therapist or a social worker, they'll talk about the same kind of theme where you'll have people that say that they want assistance. Well, no, what they want is validation, and they want to have somebody relieve them of the consequences of their actions. And when they don't get that, these people can get very, very aggressive. This is primarily the number one reason why, whenever I'm working with a veteran or I'm working with a homeless person, I only meet with them in a public place. Whether it's the lobby of a VA hospital, if it's at the homeless shelter, or what have you. I never agree to meet somebody one on one by ourselves, and I certainly don't allow these people to have any information on me as to where exactly I live, if I'm married or not, if I have children or not. It's very, very important because individuals like this woman here and like John, they could be incredibly disruptive and potentially very dangerous to you, both physically, emotionally, and mentally. Folks like this are incredibly manipulative.
What's the purpose of that? And it's not even like hurting me in the sense of it's just hurting you people in the long run. Don't do that to people's property. Don't do that to people's anything. You're rude. My tooth fucking brush was touching my fucking filthy panties that I just took off earlier. Gross, that I was just telling that fucking rapist about, that I'm always having discharge, especially when I'm fucking being too active or like being volatile or angry. Like, and I'm not even volatile, I'm verbally volatile. It's not even like I'm physically act out. They have video of me being a good girl and not fucking flipping out when I get told, you can't be here anymore. It's fucking 20 degrees outside, but guess what? Kick rocks. And it's like, what is wrong with you people? That's so rude. Like, that's so rude. Like I'm not gonna find shelter somewhere else for the evening. You guys are crazy.
Now, I could be wrong on this, but she puts out so much content and she gets kicked out of women's shelters and stuff. And I'm very, very new to this particular woman. I only discovered her uh, like 2 days ago, and it was one of those things where it's like, well, I'm stuck at work, and it's like, okay, I need something kind of played in the background, and I don't know what it is, but like weird videos like this are what kind of entertain me. But my understanding is that she drove like 12 hours to get to a homeless shelter, because again, she's burned out all the other homeless shelter or all the women's battered shelters that she could possibly use. She's burned them all out. She ended up to this one that was run by the Catholic Church. So it's a group of nuns. And she was there for, I want to say, less than a half of a day, maybe half of a day, before she started immediately accusing another woman at that homeless shelter of stealing a t-shirt or something from her pile of stuff. And I guess one of the nuns said, well, maybe it's still in your car. And then she flipped out at the nun, and the nuns had to call the cops. This woman got so threatening that a group of nuns had to call the police. And I believe that this is the video after they had to call the police. But I could be wrong on this because, again, she puts out like 3 videos a day. So it's a bit of a chaotic mess.
Like, I can just find any kind of facility here, like a gym or something like that, until somebody comes in there all rude that's from the government trying to fucking fuck with me. Stop it. I'm not fucking with you. Like, leave me alone. You fucked with me first. And so, like, honestly, it's just your karma. You're gonna get your fucking karma. You're all fucking demonic. It's so true. And leave me alone. Just let me be. Like,
What she's talking about there, like the whole thing with like being able to use a gym, I want to say it's on the federal level, there's a program which I am a big fan of this. Like legitimately, I'm a big fan of this because one of the things that I struggle with trying to assist like men and women to get back into society. I'm a big believer if you have a job that really helps you out. It helps you out on so many levels. It requires you to interact with people. It requires you to have a normal schedule, like sleep schedule, work schedule, and so on. Um, it starts getting you money and all. But one of the most most difficult things for me to get somebody a job is one, there's a couple of things that make it difficult. One, not having like a mailing address. Two, not having a reliable phone number. But three, if you smell bad, it's like if you're not able to bathe on a regular basis, it is so incredibly difficult So incredibly difficult to land somebody a job through an interview, the interview process. And so they started this program to basically allow people where you could just go to a gym, shower up before you do an interview, and it really helps out a lot. Now, right now, this economy is crazy, where I've never seen it before this good. Where getting people work, this has been the best year as a volunteer ever. But it's still a very, very helpful program, and I've seen plenty of people. I've seen people firsthand that use this program, and it's really, really helped them out to where they could show up to a job and they're clean, and that could really, really help out. The problem this woman does is she tries to live in the gym, and you cannot do that. Like, she will just show up to a YMCA and just sleep at the YMCA. Like, she has another video where she got kicked out of a YMCA because she was just trying to sleep in an area where they were having a children's birthday party. And she couldn't believe that she got kicked out of this YMCA. And it's like, yeah, you can't just spend all day in the YMCA sleeping there and moving all your shit in the YMCA. Like, that's not what this program is for. And again, just like she gets kicked out of women's shelters, she gets kicked out of these gyms constantly, constantly.
Like, and I told everyone in the last video that all of a sudden my camera doesn't work sometimes, although I have fucking half my fucking storage is full, and all this and that, and my shit keeps getting fucked with, and like all my stuff, my bills and everything. You think I'm so spoiled, and I'm not. I'm not. I deserve these things and then some. Like a poodle and a fucking bunny, and not even to just own them. To just take care of them for the rest of their lives as my best friends. And you guys are fucking evil, and I'm having a good day about it. Fuck you people. I don't belong in shelters anyway. Fuck shelters. Fuck your nasty shelters. Although this one was nice. I can't talk down about it too badly, aside from what just happened about getting kicked out for some undisclosed reason. Like, all they said was that I wasn't appropriate for their facility.
That is polite code for you are starting fights. You are incredibly disruptive. You are making other people incredibly uncomfortable. You cannot stay here.
And all of a sudden I have random warrants out for my arrest in all these areas. And all of a sudden I've just got all these people like eating me, trying to devour me. I don't want any part of you people. I don't want any part of humanity anymore. Like I keep telling everybody, I'm just gonna end up driving off of a fucking cliff, and then what? Then what? Then you'll be stuck with the rest of the fucking shit and having to tell everyone why I did it. And that's deranged. You people are insane.
She does this a lot where she'll make threats of self-harm, threats of suicide, unless you give her what she wants. And again, this is like behavior. Like a lot of folks that try to employ this behavior seem not to understand it. Like this is an immediate red line kind of thing. I will get veterans that will call me up in the middle of the night, um, and they're drunk and they're like, "Hey man, you want to play video game?" I'm like, no, I have work in the morning. Like this is not the number to call when you're bored. Like sober up, go to sleep, and I'll hang up on them, and then they'll call right back, be like, "Yeah, like people like you make me think I should just top myself." I'm like, okay. Afraid you've made a suicide threat. I am going to have to call this away immediately. If you are thinking of self-harm, you need to call the suicide line, but now I need to call the cops to do a wellness check. They will show up, cooperate with them. And I have to do this. I have to do it because it's a line you cannot allow people to keep crossing that line. Like she says this so many times that it usually doesn't mean anything, but what if it's the one time that she tries to follow through with it? So, but the thing is, you can't give them the response that they want. You have to give them the appropriate response, which is, okay, we have to treat this seriously now. And then you're going to be stuck in a 24-hour psych hold.
I'm too No, I'm too uppity for this shit, and I haven't worked my neck out either, so I'm really self-conscious of that tiny little bit here. I'm over it. I need to work out, I need to fucking eat, and I can't believe I'm 15 weeks pregnant tomorrow, and you guys fucking made that happen. I know that that shit happened for a reason. Fuck you people! Fuck that guy. Yeah, I love him. In a weird, creepy way, because I enjoy abuse sometimes. In a weird way, because I was always abused as a child. So really, it's like a game. It's like the more I suffer, the more everyone else is gonna suffer. Fuck everyone. It's not fair. And it's not fair that I would be kicked out of a domestic violence shelter when in actuality I was raped. That motherfucker knows what he did, and he just doesn't want to own up to it. Fuck you, Jason Wallace. Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm over it. Completely over it. Fuck you, people. I'm out. I'm so spoiled, I know, I sound like it. But it's because I was born in a first world country, and I'm half Mexican and half white, and I look mostly white. So I get more privileges, and it's the truth. It's racial discrimination most of the time. And then also, too, the fact that I can appropriate myself and my mannerisms so well, everyone thinks that I'm just acting. Acting for what? You people are profane. Fucking predators. All of you. Not much, and this will be gone. Oh, and I'm gaining weight. My face is fat now again. Oh my God, thoughts about being kicked out of a shelter again. And no wonder my...
Again, notice she added again. This is a common occurrence. I think I mentioned this one time about John Bolton, how the most bizarre thing about John, the thing that really threw me for a loop, was not his behavior, not his drug abuse, not how horrible he was to people and all, but as a veteran, he had managed to get evicted from multiple places, like apartments and stuff, because evicting a veteran is really freaking hard. We have access to basic legal aid through a single phone call. And that basic legal aid will be good at one thing really well: tenant rights for that area. So it blew me away that John Bolton had managed to get kicked out of like 3 apartment complexes in 3 years. Similarly, this is the only woman I've ever heard of that has been kicked out of multiple battered women shelters. I based on the limited number of videos that I've seen, I believe that this has happened over a dozen times. This woman has to travel out of state to try to find. She's literally crisscrossing the United States to find different services that she can manipulate out of people. It's crazy.
My clothes were stolen. And it was a farce. You guys just do this shit just to fuck with me, and I already knew it. And I knew all that shit anyway. Quit fucking with me. I just want a place to sing and dance by myself and not have to be exposed to you individuals. And your psychopaths that just want to rape me and fucking leave me for dead. What more do you want from me? I'm already giving you a child. What the fuck? Ugh. Yeah, what the fuck? Ugh.
There's another thing she likes to do, which is when she's taking a shit, she'll be in like the bathroom of a YMCA in a stall as she's making a video like this. And which is interesting is she'll get very, very angry if somebody walks into the bathroom to actually use it. like, lady, it's a YMCA bathroom. It is not a recording studio.
I'm already offering that. What else can I give to you? You already stole my first child, and I can't even be around it. What else more do you want from me?
A little bit more background. So, I don't believe for a moment that she has any access to this kid. And she accuses her husband of getting the federal government to steal her money. So she kind of views her, I think she's on disability, like Social Security disability, because she is mentally unwell. I mean, she's obviously mentally unwell. But he has managed to get that garnished. Now, there's only 2 ways, really. I mean, there's always some other way that I might not know about. But the 2 ways I know about for somebody to get their Social Security payments garnished is 1, child support. I don't believe for a second that the ex-husband and the stepmom are accepting child support payments from her. Because if they did, that would mean that she would have visitation rights with the kid, which I I don't think they would risk that for any amount of money like that. Now, the other thing that can get your Social Security disability wages or payment, I should say, it's not wages, but payment um, garnished is restitution. So there's a very good chance that the ex-husband was able to successfully have her prosecuted for doing something really, really bad, and she owes restitution money, and that's what's gotten that garnish. Because I don't believe that I don't believe he'd be dumb enough to risk her getting access to the kid. And I'm not saying that in a way that like he's doing that to be vindictive. It is for the safety of the child. There's nothing in this still frame right now that says that this woman should be raising a little girl.
I already told you, here's my fucking blood. Here's this and that. Fuck you people. Fuck you. I'm prissy because I should be. And I'm very posh in that way, yes. Because I should be cleanly and I should be not fucking hassled in this way. I should be given a lot. And a much larger allotment than most so that I can help others with it. And so that I'm not just helping myself. That's horrifying. And I don't want to just help my children or whatever. And you know I love people and I just can't help it. And I'm rude to them. Fuck them. It's tough love, just like you are with me. And that's why you kick me out of these shelters and all these other facilities. And you make people do this shit to me and I'm over it. I'm completely over it. And I already knew that you were fucking with me on live and shit. Don't act like you don't. I already know that it's the monitor, fucking assholes. And I already know, and I already told people too much, and you tell me I speak too much about shit, and you engage with the fucking material anyway. You can allow it to be publicized or not, and you presume that I don't realize that you don't tamper with my shit. I know you're tampering with my fucking shit, and I'm over it. I'm fucking over it. It's 5:30 in the evening, and I'm just gonna spoil myself now. I'm gonna go to dinner. Fuck you people, and it's gonna be on your dime. Fuck you.
That's the other thing she tends to have issues with is like going to restaurants and then causing scenes and all. So I guess her big thing is because there was a video where she was complaining about people tracking her. I'm assuming they're tracking her by her Yelp reviews and stuff because apparently she just review bombs every place that she gets kicked out of. So I'm imagining that if you knew what her username on Yelp is, it's practically real easy for anyone to track her.
And you know it. That's why I don't worry too much. Because I know, I know that there are plenty of people out there that love me, especially in all my attitudes. And you saw me prancing around in those woods that day, and you didn't come for me. And I'm fucking horrified like you're not coming for me now. And I'm done. Why should I have to keep struggling? This is overwhelming. And I already know that there's plenty of people out there that, like, they get these lists and shit like that, and they get told to go this place and that place, and I'm over it. I'm fucking done. I'm fucking done. Just like when I stomp my feet, Leticia's done. Hands on her fucking hips, I'm done. I'm gonna spoil myself, and then I'm gonna go fucking get myself a goddamn hotel room. Fuck you people. I'm over it. I don't care if it fucking overdrafts. You'll have to deal with it, not me. And you already know that because because of the way I manipulate the system. Fuck you. I want my tooth also. The finished up fucking product. I'm over it. I'm thirsty and I have to piss. And thank God I showered up a little bit before I left. Ugh. I hate being disgusting and you know that. And the fact that I was able to wash my clothing, yes. That's a huge blessing. So even just one night of a fucking stay, but I only got 5 hours. No wonder I'm fucked up right now. No wonder I'm talking like this and talking down. That's how it should be. I should be spoiled, and I should be given a lot. And I want to cuddle, and I don't want to cuddle just anybody. Yes.
I mean, this woman is clearly miserable, um, and she clearly needs help. But the problem is the help that she wants isn't necessarily the help that she needs. And the help that she needs, she's not willing to work with people in any way, shape, or form. Um, Now, I know a lot of people will say, like, well, this is the problem because we've closed down all the mental hospitals and stuff. I think people tend not to realize or remember or recognize just how bad mental hospitals were. I'm a bit older than her. I'm in my 50s. My father, unfortunately, my entire childhood, my father is a very good man and he worked very hard. But unfortunately, my father had severe psychological problems. And it was about every year or so, my father would have a complete separation from reality, and he would end up in a state mental hospital. And my father would come out of those mental hospitals not very good. Like there would be times where he'd come out worse than before, and like my mother would have to struggle to get him released. Um, and that was back when they would just dope the shit out of you. They could basically chain you to a fucking wall. Your family wasn't allowed to visit you, kind of thing. And I mean, I remember going there. It was horrible, horrible, like something out of a horror movie. And you can watch documentaries on this and stuff. So I'm not one of those people that believe that we should just start incarcerating and institutionalizing these people per se. But then on the other hand, like this woman here can clearly not live on her own. John was not able to live on his own for a long period of time and making his neighbors and everybody utterly miserable. I don't know what it would take for this woman to change her ways. I mean, eventually, I guess her car's going to die, but it's just like I don't have the answer. That's basically what I'm saying. I don't have the answer. But I don't think
I'm
incarcer
over
like
it. And there's
putting
a
her in a
lot of
mental
times
hospital
too
would
that I
fix
hear
anything.
you. And you already fucking know that. And I'm done. And that's when I expose people to that shit that you had done to me, and then all of this and that, and all the heightened sensitivities that I have now, I'm over it. That's why I'm so itchy. I'm done. There's a bunch of fucking germs and shit that I've been coming in contact with. I'm over it. I don't want to get sick. And that's why I haven't gotten the COVID yet. And I already understand that. Fuck you people. It's just blessing. I'm a blessing to this earth. What can I say? Fuck you people. And I just want you to do better. And I see all the things and I'm like, ugh, filth. You need to clean that up. And also, to quit offering people hydrogenated fucking oils and shit in all these places. Ugh. And that one cartridge that said something about biogenetically modified some bullshit, like, ugh. No, thank you. I'll pass. I'd rather starve. And you fucking know that. And that's the fucking, that pizza upset my stomach. I'm just gonna give it to a fucking homeless person. I'm homeless, I understand that, but I'm not technically homeless. I already fucking know. You guys are assholes and I'm done. I'm over it.
You will run into if you ever volunteer with the homeless, you will run into people with this attitude from time to time. Especially if it's somebody that comes from a middle class or an upper middle class background that for whatever various reasons have kind of fallen from grace and they've ended up homeless. They will have a very hard time with basically identifying with their fellow poor people. And it's always been odd to me.
I swear to Christ if nobody comes for me one of these days, because I swear to God I'm gonna drive off a fucking cliff. I'm gonna fucking take the rest of my fucking pills and shit, all the pharmaceuticals that you handed me. Yeah, all the fucking hydros and shit and all the other fucking shit that, I don't know if I've got Xanax on me anymore. But like, yeah, all the pharmaceuticals that came in my name. And you're gonna give me that shit like I'm not gonna get all laced up and hopped up on that shit and then I'll go fucking kill myself. That's what happened for all those years and you know that, and it was the pharmaceuticals. And I'm just trying to warm up my car. It's only
If you're wondering what that noise is in the background, my wife has a parrot.
12 minutes. Fuck it. If they come over here and they start asking officers and yada yada, I get sent to jail for what? Speaking my mind and sitting in a parking lot and making phone calls? Exactly. Don't act like you don't trace our phones and shit and you know exactly what we're doing at all times. Don't act like I didn't know that shit when I first encountered the fucking phones too. That's why I fucking share this shit with you in hopes that you would fucking better me, or not better me, but better the world around me. Because fuck me, I already know. I already know.
Oh, excuse
I'm
me.
over it too. Because I'm like, ew, I see my body and I see any kind of the stretch marks and all this and that. Fuck it, I'm disgusting. Fuck it, I'm disgusting and I already know it. And why do I make these videos? Because I know damn well that you're only having certain people watch them. So whatever. It's not even my business, it's yours. You caused this. You created this demonic monster inside of me. And I'm not fucking greedy, mind you. You know that. I just keep to myself and keep my things nice. And it's not fair that people should have to take from me just because I'm better off. And it's not that I'm
Okay, I'll let her finish that.
better off. And I still have emotional traumas and psychological issues and disruptions. I'm over it.
But she never did kind of finish that thought. It's not that I'm better off. Well, okay, you clearly feel like you are better than the other people around you, whether it's somebody that's working at a restaurant that you've gotten into a fight with, if it's somebody that's working at a YMCA that says, hey, this is a gym, this isn't a hotel, you can't have all your stuff spewed out everywhere. Um, Again, I cannot fathom getting kicked out of a woman's battered shelter run by nuns. The Catholic nuns. Yeah, they're really known for their inability to show patience. like if you can't, I don't know. And these are the kind of individuals that I try to help out that are just so soul crushingly difficult to help because they're their own worst enemy. And then on top of this, this woman is trying to destroy multiple people's lives. Like the individual who she name dropped in this is an individual that she met on like Tinder or whatever, had a one night stand with. Um, uh, Basically told him that she wasn't on birth control afterwards and that he needed to pay for a morning after pill. He paid for the morning after pill or whatever, but then she didn't buy one or whatever. And then she started basically telling him that they needed to move in together or whatever, or else she was going to report her for rape. Thankfully, for him at least, she did all of this in text message. So he was able to basically go immediately to the police with all these text messages showing the harassment and shit and stuff. Because otherwise, this guy was going to be screwed. For anyone out there who's never been in the military before, the the U.S. military legal system can be pretty flippin' brutal. So, for example, I had an individual in my unit, a young guy. He, I want to say, was 20 years old. We were back in the States. We weren't on deployment. Very stupidly, he got drunk and he wrecked his car. And thankfully, he didn't get seriously hurt. But in the course of wrecking the car, he doesn't remember any of this. And I do honestly believe the kid that he got so smashed drunk that he didn't remember this. But apparently, he ended up hitting a police car that was stopped at a DUI checkpoint. And based on the actual police reports and all that I saw because I was his supervisor, like this was literally like he bumped his car into it going like 10 miles per hour. Well, they hit him up for DUI, assault on a police officer somehow for like bumping the car and so on. So basically, what ended up happening was the individual got given back to our command. He got an Article 15. It's also known as a captain's mask if you're in like the Navy and I think the Coast Guard. But effectively, this is a non-judicial punishment. So you go before your command. You say, okay, whatever you charge me with, I'm guilty of it. And the reason you do that is your commanding officer, the guy in charge of your command, is limited in how badly he could punish you, but they could punish you pretty severely. So in this case, they busted him down a rank, so he lost money. They fined him, and I want to say they even put him on bread and water in our brig for a little bit of time. So as soon as that was over, he got released to me, and I had to hand him over to the civilian authorities because that non-judicial punishment were for his charges as being a member of the military for DUI, da 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 da. Well, then we handed him off to the civilian authorities. He got slammed with an 8-month sentence that he had to do. Well, then when I go to pick him up after 8 months, I had to tell him, okay, well, we got to get you ready for your Article 15 again. He goes, what do you mean I'm going to Article 15? I'm like, well, you were AWOL. How was I AWOL? Like, well, you weren't at the command like you were supposed to. You were in jail. Yeah, but you guys knew I was in jail. Right, but we never gave you authorization to be in jail. So, like in this particular case, this gentleman was punished 3 times for one night of stupidity. The U.S. military justice system can be very, very, very severe. They could even send you, I forget which article it is in the UCMJ, but it's called the general article because the UCMJ is supposed to list off all your punishments and anything you could be accused of. And there's one called the general article, and it's like, this is for anything that's not covered by the UCMJ. We used to call it the plain we don't fucking like you article because it was bullshit. They could send you up, they could literally send you up for anything. Now, what she's done is she's accused an active duty member of rape. And believe it or not, in the U.S. military, rape is a capital punishment. And you could be accused, you could commit a serious enough a crime. Let's say, I'm trying to remember a state that doesn't have capital murder. Like, imagine Kentucky doesn't have, imagine Kentucky doesn't have the death penalty. Well, if I committed a crime as on active duty in the state of Kentucky that warrants the death penalty per the UCMJ, I still face the death penalty. Like, I still face the freaking death penalty. So now, to be fair, nobody since World War II has been executed by the federal government as an active military member. Like even the Fort Hood guy, the massacre guy. If he wasn't put to death under Trump, then I don't think any sitting president will ever do it because I think it's politically it's kind of messy. So instead, if you get sentenced to death in the military, you will spend the rest of your natural life in Leavenworth on death row. And that is a harsh, brutal place to do your time. You will be in 100% isolation 24/7. It is run by, I want to say it's run by the Army. Yeah. And it's not a pleasant place to do it. It's not a pleasant place to do your time. Well, by her accusing this guy of rape, I mean, he is facing very, very severe punishments because he is facing both the punishment from the military and the punishment from the civilian authorities, and they'll hit him twice, and they'll hit him a third time for whatever he gets out of civilian jail. Like you, it for people that make it sound like military members can get away with anything that they want, that is totally not the case. And when you hear about like these horrible stories that occur in South Korea with military members, or these horrible stories that occur in Japan about military members committing serious crimes, and how the U.S. military do not hand them back over to the Japanese, they punish them internally. Those military members face far more severe punishments than they would in Japan or in Korea. Some fairly well, no, Japan still has the death penalty. But I don't think South Korea does anymore. I could be wrong.
Yes, I would just like to write about it, and that's it. And I just want to cry. I just want to cry. And have some good food. And not just like all the fucking trash food. I just want some healthy greens and shit. So I can feel better. I always feel better. And... I'm sick of you people. I'm so sick of it. I don't care if you make fun of me. I'm hormonal and I'm fucking mad and I have needs. And they're not even like that bad of needs. They're just like human needs. And like basic necessities. The bare necessities. That's just not sustenance. It's not nutrients, and you made a fucking world of crazy monsters, mutants.
Wait, what?
Ugh. I understand it's better off that you're removing all of those certain brands and everything that are toxifying everyone's brains. Fuck you, people. That's just not...
She's really into
I don't
conspiracy
understand my
theories.
reason. Why? This is normal. We should all speak this way. I don't get it. I don't understand you people. I don't know where I come from, but it is obviously not Earth. So, fuck you.
I feel really bad for her daughter, well, and her unborn fetus if she's actually pregnant. To be fair, I don't know how well you could trust her about anything because she seems to be pretty manipulative. But I do feel very bad for the little girl. As somebody that grew up in a family where a parent has severe mental health issues. Now, my relationship with my father is a lot better, a lot better than what it was when I was a teenager and stuff. But even then, I can't spend too much time around my dad before old wounds start kind of opening up again. Um, that little girl, you just think her dad and the stepmom, the real mom, I'm sure that they've had to contact schools and contact this girl's friends and say, listen, there's a woman out there. She looks like this. She goes by this. If she ever tries to show up, I need you to call the police right away. And she's going to say a bunch of crazy stuff about me and all. I mean, it's one of those conversations because on one hand, you could get used to somebody just saying crazy stuff about you all the time, and eventually it's like water over the back of a duck. But then when you have to basically bring somebody new into the craziness and to explain, like sit down with school officials and be like, listen, the child's mother, birth biological mother, is somebody that I have like restraining orders and all that. She's going to try contacting the school. She's going to try to pick up the kid. Like, I need you guys to be very, very adamant about contacting the police and all. It's one of those things that it's not fun to deal with. And I firmly believe what will happen is when this girl starts hitting milestones like graduating from high school, learning how to drive, graduating from high school, going off to college, graduating from college, getting married, and so on, this woman is going to constantly try to wedge her way back into this little girl's life. When by then she'll be much older, she'll be a woman and all. But it'll be very tough for this kid. Uh, it'll be very, very tough. Because at no time did I ever like cut off my father completely. But at times it was very, very difficult to deal with my dad, especially when it came to like me getting married and me going to college, because I didn't get a lot of support from my family and pretty much any of my decision making. Um, it's just going to be something that this girl's going to have to deal with for the rest of her life, and it's unfair because she had no play in this and so on. It's just unfortunate.
Fuck you. I'm already creating a baby that I didn't want to fucking create. What more do you want? Give me things. Give me things. I'm not that spoiled. I'm not. I had nice things, and you took them. And you keep taking them. It's like you want me to continue on this stupid righteous path, and what righteousness is this? If I have to talk down and belittle people and cuss people out. That's why I told you that I needed somebody to help me with documenting my stuff. Or not even just documenting it, but editing it. I'm done. I don't want to edit myself. I don't have to learn everything. God damn, why do I have to learn every single thing on this goddamn earth? I swear to Christ. Ugh. In God we trust, I swear. I'm hungry. I want to go eat something fancy. I also want to buy myself something. And I don't see the problem in that. Not at all. Especially if I offer back a lot of my things. Just don't steal from me. Those things were nice and I only had a couple photos in them. Oh, they're nice enough to me right now. I know they're not the best, and also the material and blah blah yada yada. But also, fuck you people. I don't know. Just want to laugh about it. Okay, it's March 10th, 2022. It's 5:48.
It's just this is an interesting woman to follow because again, she has an obscene amount of videos and stuff. It's a interesting rabbit hole to go down. Um, I really don't know how she's gonna hit a wall. She's gonna hit a really bad wall because right now she's. I guess you could technically say she's somewhat coping. But like, if anything ever happens to this car, she's boned because then she won't be able to travel long distances to hit up these different battered women shelters and different YMCA's and so on. This is typically what ends up happening with a lot of people with mental health illness, and especially people who heavily abuse hard drugs. And that is where they just burn through their entire support network and then they have to just keep expanding out the web of people to manipulate and stuff to get what they need and what they want. Um, Somebody like this, it's incredibly difficult to help them. It's incredibly difficult to help them because unless they want help, you can't force them. You and it's just yeah, you'd have to long term commit her. The other thing, and for people that are wondering, well, why doesn't she get like long term committed? It's the same issue with John in that it's incredibly difficult to commit somebody because you're taking away a lot of their rights. And what probably happens with this woman is the same thing that happened with John, where she'll go into a very manic state, very dangerous state. With John, it was typically due to him being awake, consuming large amounts of alcohol and methamphetamine. With her, I think the only drug that she's abusing the shit out of is marijuana. And both of them, I believe, have gone into 24-hour, 48-hour holds. And the big thing is, once you're able to sleep and whatever, the bar to keep somebody uh, institutionalized against their will is so incredibly high, and it's meant to be very, very hard. So she's crazy. She can't function in society, but she's not. Excuse me. She's not crazy enough to where she's an immediate threat to herself or others, and that's basically the requirement. You have to be an immediate threat to yourself or others. So until then, she can't be institutionalized, and I don't even necessarily agree that that would be the correct thing for her. Cutting off all of her benefits wouldn't help out. Um, it's just it's one of the situations where I've tried to help people like this, and it's very hard. It's very very hard, and you'll get to the point with the person where it's like, I'm not helping you. I can't help you. Like you should move on to somebody else, and that's what she's dealing with. That's exactly what she's dealing with. And again, like the speed at which she can get thrown out of places is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Um, I would be surprised if she could sit at it. She could go to a sit down restaurant for longer than an hour without causing a scene. So it's pretty sad, pretty pathetic. But anyway, this is the weird shit I've been watching while between jobs. Take care. Everyone take care of each other.